Alright, so just like we can reduce radical signs to get imaginary or complex numbers, we can also perform operations with complex numbers. Now what I'm talking about is, addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And in reality, what's this going to do is we're going to introduce a new property or a new rule. And it's something very simple. All we have to do is focus on taking that original rule that we have already up there, and that is I is equal to the square root of a -1. Now, if we have I equals the square root of a -1, if we decide that, oh, let's square both sides, okay, well, we square the left side, and I times I, well, just like with x, that's going to be I squared equals. And then when you square that square root, you're just going to get a -1. So I squared is equal to a -1. Now this is a property that we're going to have to use, and we're going to have to keep in mind. So, you want to make a note of that, write it down, put stars around it or something. Make sure you got it down somewhere so that, when you need it, you can come back to it. Okay? It most likely will only happen during multiplication, but we're going to start off simple with just some addition. Okay? Okay, so this first example asks us to simplify. Now, all of these problems are going to ask us to simplify, and it is your job to figure out, do I need to add, do I need to subtract, do I need to multiply, do I need to divide, or do I need to do all of those or only some of those? And if you just take a moment and read the problem, you're going to be okay. We have 7 minus 2i plus -3 plus I. I didn't say the word addition in there. I didn't say the word multiplication at all. I did say addition. Okay, there is a plus sign in between those two parentheses. And then I have these two right here, which is the minus sign, and then I have another plus sign right there. Now, I cannot subtract 7 minus 2i. They are unlike terms. Right? Think of this I as a variable, like it was x. You can only combine x terms with x terms and real number terms with real number terms. Okay? So I don't really have anything to do here. The parentheses are just extra, and they're not really helping me. So I can really just drop them. So it's 7 minus 2i plus -3 plus I. Okay? Now we got two things going on here. I know that 7 and this -3 are like terms. And I know that this minus 2i and this right here, this little plus I, those are like terms. Okay? So first I'm going to get 7, okay, 7 plus a -3. Well, 7 plus a -3 happens to equal, okay, a -4, or a +4, sorry. And then we look at the next part, and it is a minus 2i plus 1i, and that is going to leave us, okay, with a negative or minus I. You can't combine the 4 or the I. There's nothing else you can do. You have simplified the problem. It is as simple as it can get. Basically, no other terms can be combined. No other operations can happen. You are done. Alright, so we did an addition problem. This is a subtraction problem. You know it's a subtraction problem because after you read it, 6 plus 7i minus a -2 minus 4i, you'll notice there's that minus sign right in between. Okay? Now, when you have something on the outside of parentheses, a number or a negative sign or something like that, you generally have to distribute that. And a lot of times what I will do is I will circle that guy and I'll draw little arrows to every term in the next parentheses. And so in doing so, that first parentheses is not going to change at all. It's going to say 6 plus 7i. The second parentheses, well, a minus 2 is going to end up being a plus 2. And likewise, a minus 4i will end up being a plus 4i. Okay? We talk about our common terms, or terms that can actually combine, and we'll notice that hopefully the 6 and the 2 will combine, and 6 plus 2 is still 8, okay, hasn't changed. And then we look, okay, well, I terms can combine, so that's a positive 7i, and that's a positive 4i, and so 7i plus 4i is going to be plus 11i. You cannot add those two. There's nothing else to add, nothing else to multiply, nothing to subtract, nothing to combine. So we are finished. We have simplified the problem. Alright, so the next example is a multiplication problem. Alright, 7i times 3i. Okay, now this is where this rule that I have at the top is going to come down in handy, and it says I squared equals a negative 1. Okay, so when we multiply these two guys, 7i times 3i, we're going to multiply the numbers, 7 times 3, and we're going to multiply the i's, I times I. Okay, just like you would if that I was a variable like x or y or a or b or whatever. Okay, so when we multiply 7 times 3, or 7i times 3i, we're going to get 21, because 7 times 3 is 21, and then I squared. Okay, now you're not finished though. You have to apply this rule up here. I squared is equal to a negative 1. Okay, now we just say 21I squared. What is actually happening is that's 21 times I squared. So what we have to do is say, okay, well that's 21 then times the negative 1, and then 21 times the negative 1 is equal to a negative 21. That's the only thing that's sitting there, so that's the only thing that's left, so we are finished. Alright, so this last example here, again, all the instructions have said simplify. So this is going to have a combination of multiplication, addition, subtraction, all that kind of good jazz, okay? Now we're not going to do any division problems because we don't have to worry about those, but we're going to look at this problem, okay? Now you got to follow your order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, okay? So parentheses, hey, there's parentheses, but I can't do anything on the inside. Same thing on this one, nothing on the inside. Okay, so exponents. I don't have any exponents. Okay, I'm good there. Okay, well, multiplication. We do have multiplication. Okay, if we look at this problem, okay, these two parentheses right here are going to multiply. Now you can multiply those in a variety of ways. You can decide to do the FOIL method or the box method or just the distributive property. Okay, I'll off to the side. I'll work out and I'll kind of do like the grid method. Okay, you know, tic-tac-toe board. 1 minus 4i, negative 5, and then a positive 9i or plus 9i. The intersection or these four boxes are going to be the multiplications. So this first box is going to be 1 times negative 5, and we get a negative 5. And then, let me actually write that a different color real quick. Here we go, minus 5. And then 1 times 9i is 9i. And then a negative 5 times a negative 4i is going to be a positive 20i. And then 9i times a negative 4 is a negative 36i squared. Okay, so got some things going on here. We'll go down to the next line. We'll have 3 minus 2i. Haven't done anything with those guys. Plus, and then we have a negative 5 plus 9i plus 20i minus 36i squared. Okay, we'll draw a little line over here to block this guy off. All right, we need to combine some like terms here, and we have a few of them. minus 2i plus 9i plus 20i squared. Okay, this is an I squared. Okay, we don't combine it with these just i's. Okay, we also have this 3 plus a negative 5. Okay, so we'll do the ones in red first. 3 plus a negative 5 is a negative 2. Okay, and again, that came from these guys right here in the red. Okay, and then a negative 2i plus 9i plus 20i is going to give us a plus 27i. And again, that came from those three terms in yellow. Okay, nothing fancy happened with that minus 36i squared. Okay, but there is something that we need to know. Okay, what you need to be aware of is that, remember, at the very, 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 very top of our paper right here, we have I squared is equal to a negative 1. So really, that's a minus 36 times a negative 1, which that is in reality plus 36. Okay? And that plus 36 can combine with that minus 2. Okay, I guess it's a real number now. It doesn't have an I with it. That I squared turned into a negative 1, which made the minus 36, made that minus 36 a plus 36. Plus 36 and a minus 2, those two can combine. Okay, so one last little combination, and we'll get 34 plus 27i. There's nothing else to combine. There's no other multiplication, addition, subtraction, anything like that happening. So we have done exactly what the problem asked us to do, okay, which was simplify. So, we're finished. Okay? All done.